Hey Soup, it's Claytano. Welcome back. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you all are having a fantastic 420. It's a beautiful day outside here in Virginia Beach, and I hope you guys also have great weather and great luck with that. But today we're just gonna have some fun. It's gonna be really relaxed. Basically, it's gonna be a showcase of all of my runes, why I rune my monsters the way I do, and I'm gonna give you a little bit of a spoiler alert. Most of them are runed for World Boss that I just threw runes on there so that way I had runes on there so that way they do a little bit more damage. With that being said though, a little bit of background about myself if you don't know me. My name is Claytano. In game I play on the global server. The highest rank that I've finished was rank 15. However, I have touched legend many times throughout the week, but that doesn't matter unless you finish legend. With that being said though, I don't really have the rune or the monster base as a lot of the other G3 players, but for me to still be successful and do well, I think it's something to take note of, and it gives you guys, an opportunity to say, you know what, he's doing it with lesser runes than I do, why can't I do it too? So this is kind of like a motivation to you guys as well. With that being said, without further ado, Let's start with Rina, okay? Because she's the first one on the list. She's the first 6-star that I ever had. Even though I did get Zeros at level 8, I still 6-starred Rina before Zeros. Don't ask why. I just, at the time, her shield stacked on top of it, on top of itself, and she was crazy. She was even harder to kill than she is now. This was about a year and a half ago when I first started playing, which, to speak a little bit on that, I first started playing a year and a half ago with the Aria HOH. That's like the first time that I started playing, and the fact that they're bringing it back here pretty soon in the next couple days is awesome. I'm going to be farming Aria so I can use her for TOA hard, but I'm definitely going to get a Dark Phantom Thief as well because I fed him and I probably want him back. But anyway, so Rina, a lot of people are like, how do I rune Rina to be super, effective? How do I make her effective? Okay, well, Rina, I have her as energy, endure, right? So you don't need the fancy sets on her. That means she doesn't have to compete with any of the runes from the other monsters that you have, which is super nice. You just go energy, and if you can get enough resistance from all energy sets, then go all energy. You don't have to put this endure on here, but the reason why I did that was because I wanted extra resistance. I'm trying to get that as close to 100% as possible, and it's a little bit annoying that she's not at 100%. But with that being said though, I did get some decent HP out of her as well, so that kind of makes up for the lack of resistance. Now, the main stat you want to focus on is your HP, okay? So I put all 3 times HP on her, and then the secondary stat that you want to focus on is getting HP on all of your substats as well, okay? And then once you have that down, then focus on resistance. And you, like I said, you want to get it as close to 100% as possible. So, I don't have resistance on this rune. That's something that I can work on. But the fact that it has a 21% HP and 15% defense sub is really what I went for on this rune. Even though it's a 5-star rune, it's still super useful with those subs the way they are. I have 5% resistance on this. I have no resistance on this, so that's another area of opportunity for myself. If I get a grindstone, I can throw some resistance on there and get rid of the attack or the crit rate. She doesn't really need attack or crit rate. It is effective. She does do it. She does crit, and it does more damage based on her HP, so it's not horrible, but attack is pretty useless on this, so I'd probably switch that out for resistance if I got it. So once you have that kind of down, the next stat that you want to focus on is defense. You really want to try to get as much defense on your substats as well, which is defense plus 15, defense 15, and really just pump up the defense as much as possible with your other substats. It's really easy to rune her. She's like the super easiest monster to rune, and that's why she's being overused right now. And she's crazy hard to kill, but you do need to have her skills max for her to be effective as well. I use her though on my rush hour defense. She's a wall, and she makes people skip your team because she's so tanky and so annoying to kill. With 99% resistance, if you don't land defense break on her, you could be a nuke. You could be a wind nuker. You're most likely not going to kill her if you don't have defense break on Rina. That's why it's so important to have resistance at 99%. I do have some pretty decent speed subs on her, which is out of nowhere. Like, I didn't really try to have it, but it just happened to be on a lot of my runes. I do have speed substats, so that's where that came from. With that being said, though, it's Rina. As much HP as possible, as much defense, and as much resistance. Everything else doesn't matter. Even speed doesn't really matter. Alright, so moving on. I have Tyron halfway runes. I don't really use him, that's why he's got some purple runes on him. For Arena, you want him to be like Despair, Will for the most part. I like Will on all of my Arena monsters. Well, let's take that back. I don't like Will on all of my Arena monsters because some of them I don't use Will. But for somebody like Tyron, I think Will is the best set for him. Plus Despair, because Despair, if you don't happen to use your third skill with Tyron, you can still use his second skill, spin everybody, stun a couple, and decrease their chance of critting, right? Speed, crit rate, attack with crit rate subs as well, crit damage subs. So he's got 100%. He doesn't need 100%. He really only needs like 70, and then a crit damage slot 4. But I don't have crit damage slot 4, Will or Despair. So I just threw the crit rate on him, and it's funny because a lot of people ask me, why do you use crit rate on every single one of your monsters? I don't know. I like consistency. I like not glancing. It kind of sucks when you miss your crit, especially at like 90% crit. It seems to not crit a lot. But it's really not as important on AoE monsters to have 100% crit as it is important on the single target nukers to have close to 100% crit as possible. So that's why he's ruined like that. Though I don't have the crit damage slot 4 slot. It's whatever though. You know, like I said, I don't really use him that much anymore. It's kind of out of meta now, but I'm sure he'll come back. So I don't really feed him or anything like that. Sigmarus. I have my Sigmarus runed for dragons. However, I don't really use Sigmarus in dragons. I tried it out and it was just too. It was too like RNG based, and I didn't have a consistent run. So like I said earlier, I like consistency. So if I used Sigmarus, I wasn't having consistent runs. So I might have to put her on Violent or something like that. But her stats are pretty decent. She's got great speed. She's got great crit rate. Enough for dragons, right? Because you get 15% crit rate if you have elemental advantage. So Sigmarus being a water on a fire team or a fire dungeon, she has 100% crit rate as it is, right? She doesn't need 100% crit rate for dragons if that's only what you're going to be using her for. You only need 85. So that means you can use that 85 to either boost attack power, boost speed, or boost crit damage. So definitely keep that in mind when you guys are runing specifically for dungeons. You only need 15% if they have elemental advantage. If they don't have elemental advantage, if it's like Vertihile on a fire dungeon, then you still need 100% crit on him. And then also if you're using like a wind monster against fire, then they have a 15% less chance to crit, even if they have 100% crit. So they have a 50% chance to glance. So that's pretty much how that goes there. And then, I mean, I ruined it. Speed, crit damage, attack. I really took the runes off of Lucian's because I'm not really using them right now. But I'll probably end up putting them back because I don't have any use for Sigmarus at all. I don't use him in anything really. But he's definitely a good nuker if you don't have like a mirror or some of the other AoE nukes out there that are going to do a little bit more damage. So if you have Sigmarus, definitely use it as an AoE nuke because he does a decent job. You know, I'm not gonna bag on Sigmarus. He's got great base attack, so you only really need one attack slot and then just boost up the stats and use a speed sub. Use a speed slot too. That would be my recommendation. Now, here's my Konamiya. I have it runed for raids. It's not the fastest thing in the bunch, but it's not the slowest either. I did go swift rather than violent for raids. Again, it's more of the consistency factor. I don't have to rely on violent procs, and then also with not using violent on my Konamiya, it also freed up a ton of violent runes that I can use on monsters that do actually rely on violent, like my Theomars that I just got a couple weeks ago. So with that, I mean, raid, it's fine. I have speed, HP, resistance. The resistance doesn't even need to be maxed because I always use a resistance leader. So even 67%, that's overkill on it. So really I could put more HP on him, but he doesn't die anyway. So I don't really care. I just don't need to max that rune at all because he has enough resistance. The only thing that I would really need to get it to is plus 12, so that way I can get either more speed or more defense or something like that, you know. But other than that, I always have a hard time saying other than that. It's a lot of the. But yeah, so that's why I ruined my Konamiya the way she is. She is somebody that I use a lot, so that's why I have her there. Let me see if there's anybody in storage to bring out real quick. No. I should probably put some monsters in storage that I don't use, that way you don't need to see how badly they're ruined. So this is my Orion. This is about as fast as I can get my Orion. Everybody says, oh, speed is the key to Guardian. It's not. All my monsters are super slow. My Swift runes are so bad, it's not even funny. But I did want to make sure that he's on Will to at least give him a little bit of an advantage because I don't have great speed. Because some people with their Orions, they're pushing like 30 speed more than me or more, 30 to 40 speed more than me on Orion. Like, that is insane. And the fact that I'm even competing with those people that have those insanely fast runes like that is just, it like leaves a question mark over in my head that I just don't understand. But yeah, so that's my Orion. I mean, speed, will, that's really all it is. Now, the common misconception is that Orion doesn't need accuracy. They like to put HP slot or whatever they can find, like attack or crit rate slot for, but you want it to be a little bit tanky. You want him to have at least some HP. And then accuracy is actually really important on Orion because if he doesn't remove a buff, well, for one, if they have will, then he can't put his debuffs on. But then second of all, if you can't remove a will buff, then he can't put his defense on. And then you might as well just use Bernard, so that way you can have the speed boost on your team as well. So if you don't have accuracy, then use Bernard, basically is what I'm saying. Even though Bernard does need accuracy as well, he's not so much more reliant than Orion is, because he's slower. You're almost relying on him to have some sort of a effect on the other team with his attack bar increase. So that's why I need accuracy, and that's why I keep accuracy slot 6. Yeah, that's what it is. I don't use him. Galleon. Okay. So we'll talk about Galleon in regards to my arena offense in just a second. We'll go over the rest of the people first. Chandra. I have Chandra ruined a little bit weird right now. He is currently in my AD as of right now. I take him in and out, just testing him. I had a super nice crit damage slot 4 rune, so I thought I'd try it out and put it in there and see what happens, because he has the 35% HP. But I'm probably gonna go back to just I'm probably just gonna go back to normal HP slot 4 and go like revenge instead. Just because 43,000 HP isn't a whole lot on Chandra. You're probably wanting to look more. Can you not? I'm trying to make a video, Dublin. Jeez. He's almost as bad as Kelly is. So then, as far as HP, try to want to get him to like 50,000 HP. You want to have as much speed as possible. Crit rate, crit damage isn't really super important unless you're trying to go for a nuke Chandra, but that's really not as important these days. You just want it to be beastly and tanky. Oh god. But maybe for the other beast monks like Kumar and Ritesh, those ones are a little bit more crit rate reliant. Like you want to have crit rate on those guys for sure. But Chandra, you want to have him as tanky as possible, as speedy as possible, and some decent crit rate. Everything else doesn't really matter. I don't really use what's his name, Tarq anymore, so you don't need to worry about him. I threw some random runes on my Theomars. Like I said, I just got him. I just got him, so I haven't had a chance to switch runes around since I got him. He doesn't have enough HP, doesn't have enough speed. He's like super not really crazy at all. He's got some nice runes on him, but they don't really work for Theomars really. For Theomars, I would use him as a leader skill in Guild Wars only. I'm not going to use him in Arena at all or anything like that. So with that being said, if he has 24% crit rate leader skill plus his elemental advantage, that means he has 39%, which means he only needs 61% crit rate if you use him as leader to crit 100% of the time. So that's really nice that you don't need to have a whole lot of crit rate on him. So I mean, you guys probably already know that though, because Theomars is like old news. He's been around for a really long time, and I just got him. So aside from that though, you want to go speed slot 2 really, because if he's a slug, he's prone to getting CC'd, either stunned, Meganed, what's his other name, Testarian, any of those monsters that are gonna ruin his passive. You don't want that to happen. So anyway, like I said, not super crazy there. Zeros is part of my Arena offense. We'll go over him in a second. We'll go over Juno in a second, because she's part of my AD. And as far as this guy is concerned, Vertihile, a lot of people think that when using him in Dragons, he needs to be as fast as possible with as much crit rate as possible. Yeah, mine's not super great, but it doesn't need to. He's competing with so many other monsters for runes that you don't need to have like crazy runes on him. Like don't think you need to have such amazing runes on it that you need to take away from your other monsters. I think 150 is a decent amount of speed. At least you'll go before the crystals in DB10, so that's perfectly fine. If you have crit rate, try to get it as close to 100% as possible. It doesn't need to be 100% though. Like if you can't get it as close, like 95, 96, 97 is perfectly fine. But then also you do want him to have a little bit of HP, so he can't be super squishy. At least 14 to 15,000 is fine as well. And then the rest just put into attack, so that way he does some damage. But this is like, compared to some other people's Vertihiles, this is horrible. Like this is disgusting. This is nasty, right? Straight up nasty. But to be honest, that's the best I can do. So that's what I do. I'm not gonna try to. I don't know. I don't need him to be like this beast of a Vertihile because I don't use him in anywhere else besides dungeons, and the way he is now works perfectly fine. So I keep my better runes for my priorities, my arena monsters, right? So that's what you guys got to think of as well when you're ruining your monsters. Who are you prioritizing? Who can you take from in order to still be able to do your dragons, your giants, your everything else, but at the same time not be super over the top on your dungeon monsters, because you don't need that. As long as Vertihile is slower than everybody else in your dungeon team, because then he's gonna boost everybody back up as soon as they go, then that's all you need. He doesn't, to be honest, he doesn't need revenge. I just happen to have a really nice revenge rune, so that's why I put that on him there. Alright, so now on to Hwa. Hwa I use for raids and DB10. Speed, crit damage, attack. I'm able to do 91% crit rate on Hwa. Otherwise, I would do crit rate slot 4, because Hwa, being a single target nuker, needs to have as much crit rate as possible. Like I said earlier, it's not really super effective on AoE monsters, or super noticeable if you don't have 100% crit rate on them. But if you miss crit with a Hwa, like, that's all of your damage just gone. I mean, that's what it is. I'm sure plenty of you guys have missed crit with Hwa before, and you're just like, ugh. You feel like you're hitting it with a limp, I mean, for lack of a better word, limp dick, all right, limp noodle. So the only reason why I have crit damage slot 4 is because I was able to get enough crit rate subs to give crit damage on that, because they had crit rate. Again, not super fast, but at least I wanted to go speed slot 4 or slot 2. I don't know why I said slot 4. And not super tanky either. Like, this isn't a good Hwa. It's not a good Hwa, but for the runs that I do for raid 5 dragons, she's perfectly fine. Like, I don't need to mess with her. She has decent enough accuracy. I don't need to mess with her. She's fine. This Baretta is a work in progress. I got a maxed out rune. Basically, all I use it for is TOA hard. So once I max that rune, it'll be like 160 speed. Yeah, like 160 speed, which is fine. Like, you don't need more than that as long as you pair it up with the right people. Definitely go Despair. Revenge, though, is optional. You don't have to have Revenge. It's just there. If you don't want to go slot 6 accuracy, I just happen to have a lot of slot 6 accuracy runes. You can go with like Focus on the offset just to help out that accuracy. But you want to have some decent accuracy so that way he can land his dots. And that's it. Shihwa, I just have runed for Necro B10. I always have my Shihwa going second. So in Necro, in Giants, it's all about timing, really. I have my Colleen go first, I have my Shihwa go second, then I have my Defense Breaker go after that, and then I have my Slow and my Nuke go after them. I didn't mention this in a previous video, so this is how it is. Plus 74, right? Colleen is at 176, and Bella is at 171. The only reason why I have Shihwa so fast, because in Necro it doesn't even matter for speed, is because I don't want my Bella or my Colleen to be complete snails, like slugs for days, right? Because I want them to have decent speed for raids that I use Colleen in, and then DB10 that I use Bella in. So with that being said, I have to have Shihwa go in the middle, so I had to put slot 2 speed. And look, not even max runes, and she does just fine. But eventually, you guys do want to at least get those offset 1, 3, and 5 slot runes to plus 12 at least. Alright, so Tesarian, I just threw some runes on him for raids. He does a decent job with crit rate slot 4, attack slot 6, speed slot 2. Crit rate is at 100%, accuracy is decent as well, just that way he can hit his defense break in raids, and that's about it. That's all I really cared about. Enough HP to not die, but he's got some really good base HP, so that way you don't really need to worry about it too much. It just comes with the subsets of the runes that you're picking for the most part. For Spectra, I used to use him in DB10, but it was so RNG based. Like, I really hated it. I really hated how RNG based it was. I can get him to 100% crit rate if I max this rune, but it's like, man, it sucks. It really does. I just wish Spectra didn't derp so much, because I'll see him go like 4 or 5 times and he won't use his third skill. So I just decided to out him. Like, I'm not even gonna worry about it anymore, unfortunately. But you can go violent, you can go swift. It's really up to you. You don't need revenge. It's just I happen to have a lot of revenge runes, again with decent speed, so that's why I use that. Chloe's unruned. I don't use Chloe. She's not really guardian material. Some people still use her, and I don't. She's too easy to counter these days with Tiana, Triton, all of your oracles, Juno, Praha. Somebody is gonna have at least one of those things to counter your Chloe, and that's just the way it is. Shihwa, or not Shihwa, Colleen, I do require it to be on revenge. I think that's really important with decent accuracy, with decent resistance, and decent speed as well. So she's a little bit harder to rune, but if you do invest into her, she's going to be, a really good all-around monster for raids and necro, if you're looking to build either of those teams. Basically, speed, HP, and again, I have 5-star runes on her. She doesn't need to be crazy. She's not gonna die with that much HP. So you don't need to go crazy with her and steal really good runes from other monsters. Is what I'm saying there. Seek, I don't use him anymore, so we don't need to go over that. Lucian, I don't really use Lucian right now, but that's kind of just the runes that I threw on him. This other Lucian, same thing. It's just like the runes just aren't, they're there, but they're not there. Like I said, I put all the really good ones on Sigmarus, and I'm probably gonna switch them back and just give my Lucians back again. Probably what will happen. Bernard, unruned. I don't use it. I put all the runes on Orion. The reason, again, why I prioritized Orion over Bernard is because I don't use Bernard for giants anymore. I use double Lucian with Galleon and Lagmaron and Hwa. I know Hwa's a little bit of a weird one to use, but she makes the boss not attack you back, and it makes your runs really consistent. Even though she is a fire monster going into water, she's still worth it, in my opinion. For Chasun, I just actually was able to re-rune her. I got her with some better speed, some better HP, and I think she's going to do a little bit better for me in my arena defense. If you look at that, it's 30,000, almost 30,000 HP, almost 31,000 HP. Speed is at 210 speed. I want to get her a little bit faster, which once I get grindstones, I can get her a little bit faster here, which these ones, yeah, so 5, I can get her like 3 to 4 faster on that, 3 to 4 faster here, but violent are so hard to come by with the grindstones there. So if I get another 6 speed out of it and get it to plus 115, I think I'd be happy with that. Resistance is decent enough, like 60-70% is fine. Obviously, if you're not running with a resistance leader, you want to try to get her as much as possible, but I'm not really prioritizing resistance right now because I want to try to get that speed and HP as much as possible there. Triton I use on my AO, so we'll go over him in just a second. Lagmaron here, he has like just random runes thrown on him because I don't really use him for arena, so he doesn't have to have like the best runes possible. I don't even have his slot 2 maxed, and it's just offset runes for these really. I have crit rate slot 4 and attack. The reason why I did crit rate slot 4 is because I have a nice crit damage sub on all of these other ones, so I didn't have to do it, right? I got all these crit damage. This one doesn't have crit damage, but everything else does. So I was able to get 130% crit damage with 100% crit rate. Again, I love consistency, so that's why I did it. Decent speed. Some people ask me like if they should go slot 2 speed or slot 2 attack. Slot 2 speed doesn't help out his slot his third skill. It's only going to help out damage for the second skill. Now with that being said though, that's where a lot of his damage is going to come from, is Squall. So you want to have it probably slot 2 speed, because not only will he do more damage on his slot 2 skill, but he's also going to be faster, so that way he can use it more often. I would probably rather go Violent over Swift if you're going to use him for arena, but since I don't, I just have Swift. That's the way it is. I might actually end up switching him over to Violent Will and putting him in place of one of my monsters for arena, just in case I have to go against a full water team. I don't have to use Zeros, but we'll see how that goes. That's just an idea for right now. Escher, don't have him ruined. Figaro, I don't have him ruined either. It's just random runes that I threw on him. It's not anything that I would recommend building him that way. A lot of people do ask about Figaro though, so I'll mention him just a second. For his runes, as far as the main rune build, right? He really doesn't have to have Despair in order to be effective and stun people. You want to use him as a defense, no, not a defense, as a buff stripper, really, either on your defense or on your arena offense, if you don't have somebody else that's more reliable. He does take off 1 buff for every attack that he does, so it's really, really cool. If you wanted to do Violent, he could still stun people and break up their combo, but at least he can use that skill more often. So I would say maybe go Violent on him if you could. Again, it's competing with a lot of other runes, so Violent is an option, but not always. You don't always have to go with Violent. But then if you're gonna use him for arena, I would say you put Will on him. So go Violent Will with speed, HP, maybe some accuracy subs as well, because his skill is based on accuracy, and you do have a chance to miss. For Bella, I did go over her real quick. I use her in my dungeon teams and stuff. I have her decent speed, decent HP, decent defense, decent accuracy. That's all I really care about. So speed, defense, HP with accuracy subs. I mean, it's really basic for her, and just do the best you can with that. But don't make her go after your nuker. You gotta have her go before your nuker, so that way she can throw that defense break on, or get rid of like invincibility or something like that, so that way the nuker has a chance to do what the nuker is supposed to do. It's really about speed tuning there, and you want to get them as close as possible. For Halfas, unruined, just threw some runes on him, so that way I can store them there basically. Tosi, we'll go over him in just a second. Darian, okay, he's part of my AO, so I'm not gonna go over him just yet, but he's exciting, right? I love the way I have my Darian ruined. I think it's perfect for what I use him for. For Joltan, unruined. Okay, so Diaz is somebody that we can go over right now. I have I have Dias runed with Revenge times 3. Right, Revenge times 3, defense, HP. Doesn't matter which order it is. You can put defense down here. You can put defense over there. You can put HP over here. You know, just have great defense and have great HP, and then try to get the sub stats to be on par with everything else. Because he's mainly used for raids. That's what I use DS for, is raids. It's 100% resistance by accident. I don't want him to be at 100% resistance. I'd rather have like 40% of that resistance be accuracy percent. But it's just the way my runes are, and that's how it happened. I just gave him 100% resistance. So if you're using him just for raids, you only need 61%, or I'm sorry, 59% resistance if they have a 41% resistance leader. Speed, if you're running him full revenge, you don't need speed because he's gonna revenge a lot and do still what he's supposed to do, which is be a tank for the front line. And then if you did want to go with violent, I would say because he's violent, then put a little bit more emphasis on speed, and then you'll probably end up losing some stats either here or there. But you really want to keep his defense as high as possible if you do go violent, so that way you can have him frontline effectively. But here's his runes. I'll just go around real quick. HP sub on that huge defense rune. HP defense to 20% on that, which is crazy. Resistance sub stat right there. I don't really have any other HP slot 4 runes. HP percent, defense percent, resistance, and HP percent. Okay, so I mean, it's fun. I like my Dias the way he's runed, so I probably won't switch him around anytime soon. We're almost done though. I got about 4 more monsters to go over, then I'll go over the fun stuff, the AO and how I use them. Okay, so this Veromos, look at his runes. Tell me what you see different with my Veromos. He's not violent, is he? He's not violent nemesis, which is a little bit strange, I know. So the reason why I have my Veromos runed the way he is, and hopefully you guys can, you know, take a look at this and maybe use it to your advantage for your guys' Veromoses as well. But I actually got this idea from a guildmate of mine named Phelps. He uses his the same way. It's Nemesis, Will. And the reason why we do this is because we want to counter Lucians. So if you have double Nemesis on Veromos, if you get hit by a Lucian, you're able to go HP slot 2 and still be able to survive, and because you have double Nemesis, it procs even more, so it gives you more of a chance to proc Nemesis and cut between the 2 Lucians. Okay, so although my Veromos is slot 2 HP, he is not a slug. He's got a 77 more speed as well, and I did have him with about a little bit higher than that earlier, at like 80 something speed, but I just switched out his rune and I ended up getting a really crappy sub. Okay, so I got speed plus 3, but once I get this, he'll have a little bit more HP than he did previously. So yeah, I was really upset when that happened. It could have gone to 6. I would have loved that, but it went to 3. Yeah. But yeah, so he's got decent speed and he's got HP, and then accuracy to make sure that he stuns when he does jump on them, when he cuts in between. The only thing that will happen is if they have will on their second Lucian, then that's, you know, it doesn't really do much. But most of the time, if they don't have will, he's gonna do his job and it'll be good. So if you look at the substats, it's all speed and HP reliant with accuracy subs, really. I also like some defense on there as well. But he's got plenty of room for improvement, right? I can grind this stone out. I can grind this stone out. I can grind this out and this out. So he could potentially get up to 90 speed or more with HP on everything, right? The only thing that I would maybe look into later on down the road is switching this over to slot 2 speed and going with this still. But we'll see what happens. For right now, since I don't have the violent runes capacity, this is why I do this. Again, because I don't have the rune bases a lot of these other Guardian 3 players do, I have to be a little bit more creative in how I rune my monsters and more smart in how I rune my monsters and focus, you know, on strategy rather than actually being better than them. It's really just in your mind then, instead of actually, you know, how it's runed for like violent and stuff. Real quick here on my Basalt, really nothing special. I don't have his runes maxed up, but speed slot 2, HP, defense subs, and that's about it. As much accuracy as possible because he needs to, you know, decrease the attack bar. For my Rans, they're almost twinsies, right? One of them has a lot more crit damage than the other, though. But they don't need any speed, so they don't have any speed because they're just for my Necro team. They're all attack, crit damage, attack. Like attack, crit damage, attack. Really just crit rate and crit damage subs for the most part. And that's pretty easy. Try to go violent with them, but they're just to come in after Bella and nuke down the boss for Necro. That's it. For anything else, I don't really have any other monsters to show the runes on, so let's just take about 10 minutes here to go over my arena offense, and I'll show you guys what I do with that. Okay, so Zeros, he is attack, crit rate, attack, violent will. He's got almost 20,000 HP. He has over 2300 attack. He's got 74 speed on him. Crit rate and crit damage is decent as well, plus a little bit of accuracy, so that way he hits every now and then. He hits on like all Pernas and Theomars and whatever he needs to hit on. He hits. So with this, I runed up my Zeros, and then I put everybody else's runes around him. So I wanted to go attack slot 2, and I wanted him to be at least decently tanky. So with that being said, I was able to get this much speed with going attack slot 2, and I was like, okay, well, I want Galleon to go right before him, so 69, and this is 68, or 168, and then this is 169. Now Galleon could be a little bit slower. He could be, I think, 167, but still go before Zeros because he has a little bit more base speed, and that comes in the effect from the tower that I have. But that's as close as I could get it. And then Galleon is runed attack, HP. So he doesn't even need to have that speed slot 2 rune on him either. And with 49% accuracy, he still does enough. He hits enough to be worth it for Zeros. Okay, he does enough of his defense break to be worth it. And let's say if we go with Triton, I wanted Triton to be before Galleon, so he's at 170. So Galleon's at 169, Triton is at 170. Now Triton is speed slot 2, defense, HP. The reason why I have this offset here instead of going with another shield rune is because of the accuracy subs. Like, they're ridiculous, 31%, so he's got great accuracy, and I don't have to go with accuracy slot 6. But I do go shield because having one set of shield runes on your monsters, it kind of negates all Orions. Like, they're most likely gonna not take anything off because they're not built with accuracy. And then second, if they do take something off, they have a 50-50 chance of removing your shield rune over your will rune, and just to have that on there is amazing. So I recommend, if you guys are building Cleave AO, will on all of your monsters is the #1 most important thing, and then having a shield on one of your monsters as well is also important. So I skipped out on having Despair, right? I could go Despair slot 2, I'm sorry, slot 6, and Despair slot 3, but I felt like the shield was more important than having Despair to be able to stun a few of them. Okay, and then the last one here is Tosi, completely offset, right? The only thing that I was worried about was having his will runes on there, and then everything else was just trying to get as much damage and getting as close to Zeros' speed as possible. So I was able to do pretty close. I got it to 166, so he's only about 2 speed off of Zeros at 168. But he's crit rate 98, crit damage is at 138%, so he's super super consistent. And then he also has 1460 attack. The only thing that he lacks on, in my opinion, is his HP, and the fact that he's not violent. It kind of pisses me off, but that's the best runes that I have for right now, so that's why I rune Tosi the way I do. It's more important to have that initial burst damage than it is to have violent, and that's what it is. So that will is the most important thing on my Tosi, and then everything else is just like whatever I can do to get the correct stats for him. And that's like speed right there, speed, no speed on him, but the crit damage right there is amazing, and then speed right there, right? So that's what my thought process behind that was. Now, if they don't have like will runes, or if they don't have a will buffer or something like that, like Chloe or Beta or something like that on their team, where I have to use Triton to remove the buffs, I don't use Triton. I throw in this Darien because I'm giving up turn 1 on all of my arena offenses for the most part. Sometimes I do switch in Orion if they have like a slow Nemesis team. I'll put in Orion in there and do it that way. But for the most part, I do give up turn 1. And because I give up turn 1, I'm susceptible for Tosi dying. So with having Darien in there, not only does his passive reduce the damage taken, but it also, being 3 shield runes, they all stack on top of each other. So it gives my monsters a lot more chance to stay alive. And then also on top of this, the fact that his shield runes are just ridiculously amazing, like 23% attack, 22% HP, resistance, speed. Like, I don't know what you guys do with your shield runes, but find a use for them. It always seems to be like Dragons always drops the most OP shield runes, so find a use for them. There's something you can do with those shield runes, whether it's Darien, whether you put them on, you know, a Dias for it as well, or you know, something like that. You know, try to find a use for them. And I'm thinking that I might build another Darien and put him on defense with like violent revenge or something like that, but that's yet to be seen. For right now, I only need the one Darien, and then I just use Dias on defense every now and then. But I give up turn 1. Darien tanks everybody. Like, I could take a Theomars straight to the face on my Tosi and not even feel it because it's just so crazy and it works so amazingly. But other than that, then I have all my monsters up. I can use my Galleon to defense break. I use my Zeros to go in and blow everybody up. And then I have Tosi to finish everything off. The only thing that I would probably change if I didn't want to use Zeros would be because it's a full water team. And then I would throw in either Lagmaron, or I'm hoping to get a mirror, the wind Ifrit from my summonings soon, so that way I can use a mirror instead. But from then on, that's my runes, guys. again, like if some of these other G3 players were to go over their runes, they would probably be talking to you for 24 hours just because they have so many monsters, so many different runes. But I don't have a lot of monsters. That's just, I try to find out the best way to use them, and that's all you can do. I mean, try to find teams that work together, speed tune them, use the runes that you got on the correct monsters in order to maximize your potential. As far as using like rune parsers, if I were to try to use a rune parser, it would go extremely bad because it wouldn't even know what I'm doing. It'd be like, look, you can't, this isn't right. Like, your Veromos should have all these other better runes on him, but they would take from like Chasun, and they wouldn't be able to, I don't know. Rune parsers are not for me because I have my runes so uniquely built that I couldn't possibly try. But appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully this helped out some of you guys. Oh, I didn't even show my Juno. There's my Juno. My Juno, apparently everybody says, is like the best rune Juno in the server, which is definitely not true. I'm the only one that uses Juno, I think. So because I'm the only one that uses Juno in the top ranks, that's why they say it's the best one, because everybody else puts their good runes on Praha, right? I actually just switched her around. She used to be at like 117 speed on Despair Nemesis, but I'm trying out Despair Revenge today, just because I had some good runes. We'll see how it goes. I might switch it back to HP slot 6, but as you can see, it's like speed, HP, accuracy, defense on as much runes as I could possibly have. Speed, HP, defense, accuracy, speed, HP, accuracy, speed, oh, there's no HP on this one. Oh, there's a little bit of HP. Speed, HP, yeah. So that's the way it is. This one's not a very good rune. It's just all that I had, really. But yeah, so that's my Juno there. The stats are like 1600 defense, 28,000 HP, 210 speed, no resistance at all whatsoever, and 53% accuracy. It was different though. I did have HP on slot 6, so it had like 35,000 HP on my Juno, which was pretty crazy. But I thought I'd throw some of those runes on Chasun to help her out a little bit. But they're even speed tuned as well. 110 for both of them. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I might switch it back though to Despair Nemesis. But anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, leave a comment. If you have any questions, leave a comment as well. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Go enjoy the rest of your 420. I don't smoke myself, but if you guys do, enjoy it. And I will see you guys next time. All right. Peace later. Stay soupy. Bye-bye. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. If you want to see my previous video, you can click on the link or visit me on Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter. Also, I just started making t-shirts, so check out my website at www.claytano.com to see all of my gamer-inspired apparel. And as always, stay soupy and don't be a potato.